Then comes the risk management that we were talking. So risk management generally, uh, there are different teams. You could have one team also, but there are generally different team for market risk and credit risk. Uh, and when we say market risk, as I mentioned, so uh, it has good dedicated system for market risk scenarios. It has a capability to perform the stress testing. You can configure your containers, as they say it within the risk module. You can configure your containers as per your requirement, run the stress testing, generate a report. When we say report, it gives you both on demand, on screen reports, plus if you want to get it as part of the report and uh, share it to someone, that also is generated as a CSV file. So alongside var, you can value at risk, you can generate and configure and generate as per your threshold, as per your bank's threshold, and scenarios also. You alongside when you do it, it has capability to create those your exposure reports, initial exposure, the trade exposures, the position exposures. All those exposures reports are also created and uh, managed. Then there is one more module, which is limit management. So limit management is sometimes some banks use it as part of the credit risk side, some part use it as part of their risk market risk uh, alongside market risk manage module.
Okay.
Limit management, what it does is, let's suppose I am a trader, and I'll show it to the I'll explain it in the other way. Like, I am a bank. I don't want, so I am, let's suppose, HSBC and UK, and don't, I want to set up a limit that for a trader, an FX trader, he should not be uh, doing more than 85% of his portfolio capacity with any US bank, let's suppose, or maybe a specific counterparty. You can set up Citibank. Uh,
Yep.
so these kind of limits is something which will trigger at the time of front office deal capture only. So although this module lies within the risk management, but this is kind of your risk which is managed and handled at the time of deal input only. So whenever a FX trader will go and they are trying to, so there are n number of limits that you can, or threshold values you can configure in the limit management module. And
And what if there's a conflict? Because if you can use it in all three, in market, credit, and liquidity risk, right? There's one module, or there are three modules. Is there, like, could you set it up
it's
one way for
just
market and a different for credit?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's just a small module. It's just a couple of screens only. It's not a we should we I think calling
Okay.
it a module in itself is maybe wrong. It's a pair of screen or couple of screens where you do,
Yep.
where you can create those scenarios. Like, I want to put up a limit threshold. Uh, and I want limit monitor to get activated at a counterparty level. So you can set it up at a counterparty. So whenever there is a, and you can set a threshold like 85% of the portfolio if traded with Citibank. In that case, if trader is going to put a next trade which is breaching that threshold, it will not allow the trader. It will give error warnings, which is configurable at bank side, but it will show error and it will not allow trader to book that trade. So either they have to get that previous trade settled, or they have to use some other portfolios or books to do the trade. Or there are some exception scenarios also where it can say, don't restrict it, just make it as a maker checker. So whenever a trade breaching a threshold is booked, it will go to a supervisor or maybe a trading head, trading desk head. So that person, he or she will actually go and approve that trade. Okay, we are okay that this is breaching the threshold, but we are aware of this, why we are booking this trade. So you can set it up at counterparty level. You can also set up at a notional level also. Like, I don't want my trader to book a 1 billion trade. uh, it should pass a maker checker kind of setup. So then also you can put this limit management on the trade notional value or the trade value, ticket value only.
Good. Good.
So this is a kind of an additional control that it gives. And before the trade actually hits the Murex database, it is controlled, or I would say it gets activated before that only. So once this this check is passed, then only entry in the database for that trade number gets created in Murex. Okay, next is credit risk. So credit risk again, um, there are under credit risk you have a normal credit risk functionalities that you can handle, like uh, credit exposure calculations and credit limit monitoring. So limit monitoring is something which we just discussed. So whenever there are breaches, it generates a report uh, of all those breaches, and uh, there's a provision that it can at the end of the day you can set it up as like at every EOD whatever limits that have been breached, I want as a desk head, I want those trades to be reported to and higher up, so that they can see and they can report it to the regulators in case there is a need for doing that. So that functionality is also there. Then within this credit risk also you have a counterparty credit risk management screens also, where you can set up the risk controls at the counterparty credit default from a to cover the counterparty credit uh, default perspective. Alongside it, it also helps in performing your XVA functionalities, your calculation of your CVAs, your credit value adjustments, debit value adjustments, funding, FVAs, all XVAs, I would say all variables of XVAs are managed through credit risk module. So depending on, and also there is a, I would say, capability where you can
Mm.
tweak these XVA calculations. When I say tweak, let's suppose bank only needs your credit value adjustments and the debit value adjustments to be reported or to be calculated as part of Murex module, and then the other funding value, FVAs and all others are calculated by their own in-house system. So
Yep.
you can customize only bits and pieces of the XVA calculations also.
So you can bring in data from, so when you're doing your calculations, you can bring in data from other sources. It doesn't just have to be Murex data.
Yes, it you can bring it, you can send it across also. So let's suppose CVA is something you have already calculated in Murex, and you want now this data alongside the whole trade data get should be fed into your own in-house risk system. So you can
Got it.
send it across to that system, get your risk numbers calculated from there, and you can bring that number back to your
Back in. And then use,
Murex
and it,
database.
right, and then use that in the first one, which is the limit management. So you could take the CVA, send it out someplace,
Yes.
get 2 data points back, and use that in the limit management.
Yes, yes, and then also your risk reports that you are generating, the exposure, future exposure reports also. So
Cool,
I think in case you are using Murex risk module as a base module or a central repository for risk reporting, then
cool.
liquidity risk mm, is something again that we already spoke as part of the market risk. So liquidity risk, is part of your market risk module only. And so it's like we have separately mentioned it as like manages liquidity risk by monitoring cash flows and funding uh, gaps and all liquidity ratios. But
Yeah,
in general, it can be covered as part of your market risk, credit risk, and then you can have your liquidity risk reports generated in combination from these two modules also. So
got it.
something
Okay,
where like some of the parameters will be fed from market risk module and others from the credit risk, and then you create a logic where you combine, you create a consolidated report out of that, and you send it across to the liquidity team for their validations.
okay,
So it at every step it has a capability to generate reports wherever required, even the front office trades also. Uh, Back office. So back office is again a pretty big module in Murex. Uh, Not that common. Like you would rarely see client who is using Murex back office only, and they are not using front office and risk management. If a bank or an organization is using back office, generally trend is they have bought the full package, front to back to risk. Uh, you would
Yeah, we're
see,
we're gonna we're gonna do the whole thing. So we're
yeah, okay,
again, that's my job, right? To implement the whole thing.
yeah, okay, okay.
They have part of it
Uh,
now, but they have it in a
mhm,
small sorry, they have part of it now and they want to
mhm.
extend it to the full to everything. So
Okay, okay. All asset classes, all desk across
you got it
geographies.
across the whole firm.
Okay.
Yep.
Uh, my point was mainly the back office module of Murex is not that strong that some client would go ahead and buy only that module. That's what I was trying to explain.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
But
Well, you said the front
then,
office, some people buy just the front office on its own,
yes, yes.
or
Front
with
and
risk
risk is
management.
something. These two modules are bought separately. You would see client using only front office, only risk management, or a combination of front office and risk management. But
Hmm.
back office is something which they don't buy. So I think Calypso is holds kind of like trophy for the best back office system till date.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is, and I'm sure there's Calypso integration here. But the intention of my role is to create a front to back solution.
Okay,
And so they've gone. The firm's already decided Murex is the the app of choice, if you
strategic.
will. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so now, because they have it in some places, so I need to just extend it out and deepen it.